Hello there, my name is Arnell, and this shall be my submission video for ASM 2022 Speedrun Marathon. The game I shall be playing here is Crimson Sea, a 2003 game for the original Xbox. It's an action, a third-person action shooter slash hack and slash kind of game. The best way I can describe this game is that it's basically an anime turned into a game. It's very wacky. And the mode I shall be playing in will be G Squad mode. However, a weird thing with this game is that it always wants to have New Game Plus started whenever you beat a mode. However, this doesn't really affect anything in the game. The only thing that this does affect is you start off with the money from the last playthrough, but that doesn't really matter since the money that you need to get in this game is very little. From all the money that you collect in-game and the rewards you get at the end of missions, you have enough for everything that you need in the game anyway, so there's no real issue. So anyway, we shall start G Squad mode. The basic premise of this game is you're in a system of 5 different planets, and we are a private detective of sorts called Sho. And amongst these 5 planets in this system, a group of aliens called mutons have shown up and are causing trouble. And so, a member of the IAG, the Intelligence Agency of the Galaxy, decides to recruit us to retrieve an item below the city of Allegrando. And thus the game begins. Now... right. Sorry, I mistimed that. Misplaced that. Normally you get a tutorial icon to start, but I forgot that's not in EX mode, so let me start that again. In the starting bit will be...
We're not getting paid?
Right here when I press A on this screen. Make sure that splits are active. Okay, and we shall begin the game in 3, 2, 1, go. First thing I want to do is swap to a different weapon. Weapon customization is a big thing in this game. You can swap between the barrel, which is like what gun you're using, an effector, which can raise his attributes of different kinds of weapons and give boosts to guns or melee attacks, and the generator, which generates how much power that you use for your weapon. Now, in G Squad mode, we start off with not only the Viper, the basic pistol, but also the Volcano, which is basically a rocket launcher. So very useful to start off with. And we're just dashing past all the enemies, so we can grab this item, which is our goal. And that causes the boss to appear. Now, because we start off with the Volcano, it makes this boss here very easy. Already nearly killed him. So the actions, and that's the first level already. Oh. I didn't mean to save, well, whatever. So basically, this first lesson was a test by the IAG, and it says, well, you did that, good job, you're now part of our agency. And we are recruiting you to directly go ahead and deal with the muton problem. Which leads right into the second mission. We go through Allegrando City to wipe out all the mutons we can find. And this is where we also get our party members. Because from the start we're joined by our fellow member of the little private detective agency we were with, Yankwin. And this is where things can get tricky. The main area gimmick of this level is that you need to find and defeat all the enemy mutons to advance. Sometimes one or two of them can just find places to hide in and just vanish for a while, which can be annoying. Because if you miss some, you'll have to backtrack to find where they are and get rid of them. That can be annoying. So we clear up those enemies. And we talk to this person, who is our second party member of IAG's G Squad, Kekak. She joins our group. Wait, no. Gotta pay attention to that radar in the bottom right corner, because that tells you where enemies are going to be, and I just jumped off that. Again. Since the objective for this stage is to defeat all enemies, it's good to keep an eye on it to make sure I don't miss any. The spawning of the enemies is always fixed, so there's going to be a set amount each area. So knowing where they're going to spawn is important for defeat all enemies such as this, so I can face it where they're going. Okay, the barrier's down, that means I got all the enemies in this area, so we can go ahead. Now, the way the guns work in this game is it's very simple. You just press the X button and you shoot whatever weapon you have. Aiming is a little finicky sometimes, because there's like 3 ways you can fire the weapons. Straight ahead, you can have a soft lock on, or a hard lock on. When the enemy's just like in the front-facing corner in front of you, then you have like a soft lock on, which kind of shoots directly at that enemy. Hard lock on, you pull the right trigger and it hard focuses you and the camera onto that one enemy, which is good for big enemies or bosses. And when you're aiming, you just fire straight forward, which isn't good. Depending on what weapon you use, using the soft or hard lock on is different. Now we find the third member of our squad here, Boran. And we have all the members of G Squad with us now. Continue to move forward and clear out the mutons in this area. Camera controls are a little bit difficult to move around with, because the camera moves around when you move the left control stick, it's also for movement. The right just kind of swivels it slightly. Now we get to this boss of the area, Aqua Mercury, and Kekak and Boran get frightened and run off. Fortunately, with this, we can still take out the boss, the Aqua Mercury, very quickly. But it's swallowed Yankuin, and while it's doing that I can't damage it. Missed the quick kill. But we still got it. Oh wait, I got clear S rank for this mission. But I only got a health bonus out of them. That's a very important part of the run as well, later on. At the end of every stage you get ranked, and if you get an S rank on every single ranking that it ranks you on, you get a bonus. I'll get to that later, but first we're into the third stage. We go to the Lipton plant and talk to clear it of enemies. This is the first gigantic wave stage, where the game sends a gigantic, huge, massive wave of enemies right at you, and you just have to hold down and clear them all out. Fortunately, the game gives us a weapon that's very useful for dealing with this sort of thing, called the Vulcan, which is basically a machine gun. And it fires extremely rapidly, and it's great for taking out waves of huge, small enemies like this. Although, I forgot to also equip the generator that I got last mission. Because while I can shoot as much as I want, there's a bar underneath of my health bar, blue bar, which indicates my weapon energy. And if that runs out while I'm shooting it, the energy for my gun will overheat, and I'll have to wait for it to recharge before I can use it. When that does happen, I'll have to use the blade attack if I want to attack at all. Also, there's a record of there's a chain of hits that I have, where if you combo enemy hits together, for every 50 hits I get, there's a HP orb that will drop, which restores my health, which is useful. But it's not really major for most of the points in this game. And I overheated. I think, for the record, my record for the amount of chained hits I got on this stage is a little over 800. So yeah, this is a bit of a long stage, mostly due to the fact that it's a wave survival kind of stage. No real way to speed it up, and short than anything less than doing defeat the enemies a bit faster. I'm trying the best to do. So another wave's down. So, I suppose now, while I'm busy chewing through these waves, I can talk about the stats screen. Now, on most stages, there's 5 different stats that you're judged that your final rank is judged upon. And that's the time you took to complete the mission, how much damage you took on the mission, how many enemies you defeated in the mission, and the biggest hit combo chain that you got on a mission, as well as each mission's special objective, which could involve special things related to, could be it's unique, a special thing that's unique to each mission, could be how many of your allies survived the mission, how long you took to fight a boss. There's a special event that happens on the stage. It's like, how many times did you do X or avoid X, and the better you do with each of those objectives, the better your rank. Goes down from E to S rank. Either is you get more cash from each objective. However, if you get an S rank on every single one of these stats that you're judged upon, you get a special bonus on top of the normal reward. And that comes into play on one very specific stage, which gets us something that really helps go through the early stages of the game. For in one of them, we get a special weapon. It depends on the bonus you get, however, depends on what stage you play. So if I got it on, like, say, the previous stage I just played, or the first stage, I'd only get, like, an item or a stat increase. So, it's not now, but later. And we just, last bit of the barrier just fell, so we're on the final wave of this stage, so we're almost done. Normally I don't want to try and use the blade mode of the weapon, because its melee range is very short, and often we want to use the gun effects for our weapon. Also mention that in some cases using the blade effect has a bit of a lock in its animation cycle for when you use it. It's a bit hard to cancel out of. Nearly done. I think these are just the last few enemies to get rid of. There's only a few of these stages in the game, thankfully. That should be the last... No, there's still a few over here. And that's the stage. Takes a while, but got through that eventually. Now is when the game finally opens up. After completing those few stages, we're taking to the IAG's headquarters, our base, and we're told to stock up on items and such, and also to give a visit to the archaeomusicologist called Tabla Siku. Archaeomusicologist studies sound and sound waves. And basically, when we meet him, he shoves some sort of sound wave on our head, and we awaken to a special power called Neopsionics, which we have because we're apparently something called a Viper. And these powers will help us defeat the mutons and rescue and help stop the muton threat. It's also here where we get our next set of objectives and a new party member. So what we'll do here is we go to Hell Seeker's office and upgrade Blast Sphere. So it's the best power weapon we got, and we get introduced to a newest party member, Shami, who is a special person who can at least absorb sound waves and take them back to Tabla Siku. Here, we want to buy the High Blaster, and we want to buy the Quick Charge Generator for our weapons. That gives us more power saving, more power to our gun, and more energy for our weapons, which we want to take care of. Now here's the point where the game really opens up and gives you 4 areas to go to, but we'll just tackle them in order. So basically, we have to gather samples of the sound waves from each of the planets in this system. First is this, the UNA-controlled area, and it's a big escort mission. The president of Garav has got himself stuck here in the midst of the invasions of the aliens, so we need to get him out of this area. Cooperating today. A lot of cycles and a lot of pushing we have to do to get this dude out of here. I'm gonna run ahead of him quickly, trigger the spawn in the room, and get rid of the bugs that are here. Because a lot of the times he likes to sit down and just not move, so we've got to make sure we push him constantly. Oh, oopsie oopsie, that's the wrong button. Make sure that he keeps moving. Also, now that we have Neo Psionics, there's a new thing that happens. It's like red orbs that drop from enemies, BP points, which I can gather to fuel Neo Psionic powers. These bugs are being very uncooperative today. Oops. Oh, that was like the last possible chance where he could have gotten hit. The bugs here are being very uncooperative today. These aren't even the worst enemies to deal with. This level. Now this takes a bit of a weird route through this area. Where did he go? Oh yeah, he runs up that way. Comes down here. Then we get to this global cycle, which is a pain to deal with. When the president finally comes up here. Where's he gone? Oh, he's over there. Yeah, he likes to take a very long and convoluted route to get to this bit. Fortunately, this is not an area where you can push him. This is, because before he was rigid in his movement, but now he's soft. Which means he'll move in any direction where I push him. So, to get across this area with a little incident, I have to lock into strafe movement and push him from a certain angle. So I want to get onto this platform. Yes, okay, good. So I fall down, and that would be very bad. Say, waste a lot of time. Okay, good. Go through the worst part of it. So we're moving forward, clearing this hallway of enemies. Now we get to the big old slope of terror. Where we have to push this guy up all the way. Hey. Fortunately, with strafe movement, we can slightly lock him into a certain way, unless he gets hit, which then he won't move. But we can push him slightly to the side as well as while going up, without repositioning the camera too much. If you're standing in the right spot for him. almost to the top. Break open and get this medic cell. Just HP and BP restoration for when you die. Just for safety. So we get to the top. And we find the sound wave for this area. And that's this level clear. Takes a while, it's pretty awful, but it's on the list. Now we get to introduce to this guy called Ekdal, which is a big superhero, massive hero of the IAG, or war hero, or something, one of those two. And also one of our dudes from A Squad. I can't remember his name, but he's introduced as like an arrogant douche. It's like trying to be a rival. We stand up for our buddies and such. But the next level here is 10 Spaceport. And this is basically... it's basically an auto-scroller. The objective is that you need to protect Yanquin as he tries to repair a shuttle. But this level is super easy. In fact, this is, while it's super easy, I do still have to pay a little bit of attention to it, because it's the level I want specifically to earn a full S rank on. Because the reward for getting all S ranks on this level is incredibly useful. And the gate's already doing the one move I want it to. So we'll send these explosive little flies at the shuttle to try and self-destruct onto it. But it's the move that we want to get a chain off to get the max amount of hits. Basically, Yanquin will run around the shuttle, the gates over there in the sky will move from position to position to make sure he's spawning enemies in the right spot. And there'll be plenty enough enemies to get all the ranks in. And it's so easy to keep them away, so we don't need to worry about time. So and the only thing I really need to worry about is make sure I'm not standing too close to these crates if I shoot them, because they'll explode if I shoot them too much. So basically it is an auto-scroller of sorts, but I just gotta make sure I don't get too lax. Because the reward for doing this correctly is extremely important. Sending another fly swarm at us again. Sending another fly swarm at us. Tell if it's trying to do the fly swarm when it gets dark, but an enemy's health bar doesn't appear. When it does, he's trying to charge up a big laser, and you need to shoot him for him to back off. The fact that he's doing this move is very helpful because the flies move very slowly, so it's easy to shoot them down. And also to rank up the amount of enemy kills we need. So we're almost done. The quest bar is nearly full. Shoot down that wave. He's... Okay, Yanquin's going around to that side, but the gate's here. Sending another fly swarm at us. And the stage is finished. And since we got all S ranks, we should get our reward, the Leviathan 3 weapon, which is an incredibly useful weapon. It's, for one, it's a mega. The Leviathan is basically a Mega Man gun. You use it as you charge up with shots and fire it for powerful blasts. But what's super useful about it is that it's a level 3 weapon, which makes it very powerful this early in the game, and we use it to just basically demolish bosses. Now we have this one, the Agito Military Plant. Now this is an auto-scroller of sorts, kind of in a more literal sense though, because we're literally on, as you can see, a big old rail factory line. And here, our objective is to collect at least 130 of the 200 waveforms on this level. So we're going to try and collect as many of them as we can as we go forward. Now, the key, basically, with the funky camera controls, the key to doing well on this level is to hold down the left trigger to strafe, because that keeps the camera locked in position while you move left and right, which enables you to keep focused forward and while also moving left and right, collecting all the waveforms. Now we've already gotten the amount of waveforms we need, so I'm not going to smash over to the other areas here and just keep running forward. Not looking to clear S rank any more stages, so I don't need to collect every single item. Sure, advance carefully, I don't get knocked back too many times, because that can waste precious time if I get hit. Now, this is... oh, well, can't do it while I'm midair. But this is the reason why we want the Leviathan 3. When I equip it, lock onto the boss, charge up a shot, I do massive amounts of damage. Like, absolutely giant... oh, and I got knocked over. And I can just easily kill that boss within moments. And that's that boss down. Now, the next mission we have is Deltine Mine. It's a very long mission if you don't know what you're doing. But basically, in this, the waveform that we're after is getting absorbed by these little jellyfish things, and there's 25 of them hovering around this mine. I need to find and defeat 16 of them, at least before time runs out. However, the level will not end until either the timer reaches 0, or I collect all 26 pieces of the waveform. So the time of doing this quickly is memorizing the layout of this giant maze, and finding all the positions where the jellyfishes can go, and defeating them all in the shortest amount of time possible to minimize the time wandering around. It can be difficult because these guys can... And there's a lot of places where these guys can show up and they can also move. So, trying to cover all the ground in the most efficient way possible is key to moving around, key to this stage. Also, not failing with the movement. There's a lot of upper and lower floors in this cave, so making sure that making sure you don't retread ground by falling down to lower levels is also important. Due mostly just to the nature of how this stage goes out, this is probably the longest stage in the game, even if done optimally. We also got to make sure we pick up these stones. Oh, no, don't you dare get away. Come back here. If they run away, it can be tricky to track them down sometimes. Those stones are also important. We need them to unlock some doors in this maze. And there's going to be a few of the jellyfish hiding behind them too, so it's important we pick those up. Proper movement is very important in this stage. Take this path. It's also on the edge of a hole, so we, like I said before, we want to make sure we don't fall down. There's a redstone there, that's a blocked off path. Going to the left is something we don't need or want. This path we want to go down. Another. This is the lowest area of this map. What's important though is that there's a red door over there. We need to make sure we remember to go inside. I have forgotten to do so before, because inside this room is another stone which we need to get to a certain area. Notice we've got the required 16 waveforms, but we still need to, and the level isn't ending, we need to make sure we find all of them to finish the level quickly. Because unless we find all 26 of the waveform pieces, the only other way this level is going to end is if the timer runs out. because we've got the yellow stone, we can access this door over here. To get to this area. Grab this item while I'm here. I'll use this real quick. So that's a maximum stat upgrade. Normally I don't matter with those because your stats automatically increase as you play through the stages. So it's almost negligible, but with some near-psionics I want to use later on in the game, it's important to have as much BP as possible, so I like to get that one because it's right in the way and it's free. Now the reason why your companions don't follow you in this level is because they're supposed to stop these jellyfish from escaping to the outside, but there's always a few that like to hang up out here, so not doing a very good job at that. Not down here. Ah, there you are. Behind me. Okay, only one left. I have a feeling I know exactly where it is. The one place where I haven't gone down to yet, and that was the alternate entrance in from the surface here. It's not that one, but... No, wait, no. Was that one? Nope, I was wrong again. It was this side corner entrance. This really is the right path we went down. You must have... There you are. There's the last one. Okay, we got him. The level's clear. That can really fluctuate how quickly or how long that stage can end, simply because of those little jellyfish enemies keep moving around and it'd be really hard to track them down. So now we gather those waveforms from all those different areas, and Tabula Seeker has told us to enhance our near-psionic powers we need to collect waveforms of ultimate sound from each of the planets. So we gotta go find several other archaeomusicologists like him and get them to give us their waveforms. Now here we get new weapons. We want the Vulcan 2 and a dual matrix generator. Dual matrix simply has better charge and capacity. Vulcan 2 is literally a straight up upgrade to the first Vulcan, so that makes it for a much better weapon. Does a lot more damage. Now for these next 3 missions, we're not going to have any allies with us, we're just going to go solo. Now this stage is where we're probably going to see me use Neo Psionics for the first time. The only one that I have at this moment is Blast Sphere, which basically causes a large explosion around myself. It's very useful for when I'm surrounded by lots of enemies and I want to take them out. But basically this stage is like 3 or 4 sections, all separate of enemies, all separated by barriers. Defeat the wave, barrier goes down, go on to move on to the next. Now again, some tougher enemies. Big guys at the back take a lot more damage and they also like to shoot at us. Their shots are a bit more powerful than their smaller allies. Blast Sphere these dudes. Let's clear out some of the smaller enemies. I'm gonna make sure I keep collecting BP as I take these guys out, because I need to keep collecting BP if I want to continue using psionics. While using Blast Sphere doesn't need much BP to use, only a small segment of the bar, it's still important to keep collecting if I want to keep using the powers. Since they're larger enemies, those guys that are shooting at me have, instead of like what the normal smaller enemies do, their attacks actually stagger me, which is bad because they can interrupt my fire, and also, in regards to some of the attacks, they can fully knock me over, which is bad. Alright, now they're at the end of the bridge, I'm going to swap back over to the Leviathan 3 so I can take on the boss of this stage. Giant turtle. Oh, he got me anyway. Supposed to jump to avoid that attack, but he slapped me with the tentacle on the way down anyway. Look how quickly the Leviathan 3 is just shredding through these enemies. And boom, he's down. Now the archaeomusicologist here refuses to give us initially the sound, but then the boss that we just defeated gets back up and tries to kill her, and then Akdal goes around and comes around in his battleship and kills the boss. And so the archaeomusicologist just gives us the waveform anyway, which grants us a near psionic power, Cure, which is basically a heal. No, oh sorry, that's a different one. This is Protection, which is Invulnerability. go to get that fully upgraded. And I proceed towards Kyoku Ethereal City. Now this is a different one. Shalatai, the bully dude from the other group, is after Garamon, the archaeomusicologist, as well. The objective is to reach him before he does. Although that's not strictly necessary, it's part of the bonus objective, because every time we get to him first, we gain a waveform piece, which is this level's bonus objective. But he's going to have his squad trying to shoot at us at the time, and that stuns us every time his squad hits me. Try and slow me down, or if in the air, knocks me over. Basically, I just want to ignore everyone else, all the enemies, all the other dudes, and just chase after this dude. Because while this guy's squad is firing at me, Shalantai himself is running after me. And if he catches up, he could just try to shoot me, and he can do a lot of damage. It's not what I want. I can't kill their dudes though, but I can shoot them to steal their money. I don't need money, so it's not needed. I need to carefully watch which direction he goes in, so I can see where he's trying to run off to. Because often it's around this area, this central area here, where it's easy to lose track of where he goes. Yeah, he's over there. There, he goes directly down. There's the dude right there. Just stay away from him. Shanahalai. This is the last area. So this is where he retreats to the back area here. That's where we get to where the boss is. And in trying to get away with us, a huge swarm of these chain bug things attacks him, and so we need to kill them. Keep splitting and splitting and splitting. Best thing to do is blast sphere this thing when it gets close. Try to cut up as many of it as possible. Ironically, the Neo-Psionic that's probably best suited for this boss is actually the reward that you get for beating this boss. That's unfortunate. That's the boss. Boss probably took a little bit longer than what it should have. And that boss gave this dude, this archaeomusicologist, gives us the ultimate sound wave called Sonic Aura, which is basically a spike aura. It damages anything that tries to touch us. give him this. We upgrade that Neo-Psionic power. Go on to the next mission. Central Sunjack. Now, this is basically a gigantic game of hot or cold. There's like a big handful of invisible enemies in this city. Explosive invisible enemies. We need to find and kill all of them before time runs out. Now, they're only semi-visible here. So the way you're supposed to track these enemies is by the use of the radar. The closer you are, the more that this radar will respond. The circle gets closer and closer when closer you are to the enemy. So basically, you need to search around the area, looking at the radar and trying to wait until it gets close enough to you so you can find the invisible enemies. The thing is, there's a bunch of other enemies here too, like these iron golems and some splitting insects, which can also appear on the radar as well, so you need to pay attention to which enemies are there. There's a lot of hidden alleyways that these dudes like to hide in, so it's always important to keep an eye on where they are. It's always also good to just simply kill all the enemies that you can find as well, because they'll interfere. If they're too close, they'll interfere with the radar and make you think you're searching for an enemy when you're not. Why I also want to try... I'll get this guy off my radar. So while these dudes don't... Oh, hello, there was a guy running around in front of me, Jesus. Wait, come back here. Gotcha. Because those iron golems don't activate on the radar when they're down. But once you get close enough and they jump up, that's when they'll register onto the radar, so you want to be careful when you trigger that. There's a bunch of guys around here. I bet they're in this alleyway. This is kind of similar to the Daltine Mine, where it's the best way to clear the stage is basically sort of memorize the layout of the stage and make sure you're checking every single place that's available on the map. But since Daltine Mine has constantly spawning enemies and then forms of those little insect bugs, that is much more a game of memorization. But this is sort of both that and a game of hot and cold, because you've got invisible enemies to find. Also, unlike Daltine Mine, you have to find and destroy every single one of the required enemies here. I can't miss any one of them. Although with the extra time that's been given for this mission specifically, it's not worth it even if that was possible, because it's just simply too much time that can be wasted if we just let them run out. guys down this end, so they have to be further ahead. And one in here. There. There's a guy in that little alleyway across the street. Only one left. I think they'll be down this end. Oh, okay, well. This is the reason why you want to destroy all enemies that you can in this level. Because it limits down the amount of fake enemies on the radar. And that was pretty good. This is the stage that grants us the near psionic power of Cure, which is the heal spell. Now it's around this time that Sher is receiving dreams of basically ruin and destruction. Doesn't know where they're coming from. It's also the time where one of our party members, Shami, indicates there's one other archaeomusicologist that hasn't been mentioned by everyone else that we can learn something else from. We want to know why that is, and also if they can tell us anything that is being left out for us. And it's also where we get our final party member, Diaz, who just decides to help us out. Now I think it's here. We get the volcano too, yes. Also want that drive and a near matrix weapon. Basically the attributes we want in weapon modifications, we want more power save, we want more gun power, more gun bonus. Basically we want our shooting abilities to be put up, power save at maximum as we can, and also have as much power and regeneration as possible. Now, Desiree Valley is the first time we get our full party, everyone together to find the end. Now basically this is a big gauntlet. There's like, we start off at one end of this pathway and we expect it to go all the way to the end while fighting through massive waves of enemies. But we're not going to do that. Our only objective is to get to the end of the gorge. So we're going to run past everything. I get knocked down a few times, but running past all the enemies is a lot faster than actually having to fight all these enemies, so that's what we're going to do. This is a strategy I only came up with not all that long ago, so yay for having late thoughts about what can be done to do this better. Of course our allies are going to get beaten up ever so slightly because they're running past all these same enemies as well. Getting stuck on these guys. This is not good. Please leave me alone. I'm going to swap near psionics to Cure to make sure none of my party members die. So now we're at at the end, which is the boss arena. I'm going to use Cure to heal on the party members. I'm going to swap weapon to the Leviathan. We're going to defeat this thing. It's an annoying thing about this stage. Sometimes the boss can be very hard to lock onto. Decide to just fly up and fly out of range of your lock on. Sometimes you can get knocked over by the armies of these all-rats, which will also break your lock on. Got it. Well, 4.5 minutes off. I only followed that strat just before I made this submission video, so yeah, big time save there just by running past the enemies instead of actually fighting them. So here is where we get our final Neo Psionic Death Ray, which we're not going to use. Because there's no place
still remember that.
to use it. So now, two things that another thing that's happened. Tabula Siku, the first archaeomusicologist that we found in this base, he's decided to go missing. Also, a few other things. Ekdal, the big hero, is acting really strange. And no. This is not one of the places that weapons upgrade. And he's starting to get a lot more violent as well every time we see him, which is strange. Especially in this area where he commands his legion of troops to slaughter an entire civilian block because there's mutants that look like humans. And he just thought, well, kill them all and we'll get the mutants as well. Of course, being the good guys, we don't like this. So, next mission is we have to use our radar to sort out the humans from the mutants and kill only them. So, another game of hot and cold. You have to be very careful because this one guy. Yep, got him. If we shoot the wrong human, they will become a very strong enemy, which is a bit of a pain to get rid of, so we don't want to shoot the wrong guy. Also waste time, of course. Pay very close attention to the radar to make sure we take out the correct enemy. The circle should disappear completely when we're standing right next to the enemy. So that's 4 taken down already. I've got no mistakes so far. I believe another one is over here. That was another one. Oh, dang it. My shots pierced through the enemy and hit an incorrect one from behind. Produces this ghost enemy. Well, it doesn't mess up our radar for a bit because it's another enemy, but just really strong and a pain to deal with. And one member of this group is one of them. Oh, that's not good. All grouped up together, so I can't tell which one's which. I'll leave that for a bit. Hopefully they'll split apart. There's another one in here. Not these two. It's not you. Must be you. And yep, that's right. I think it's you. Nope, it must be you. Okay. Right, that's two I've gotten wrong. It's important to... I said this before, yeah, it's important to get rid of these so they don't interrupt with the radar and make it harder to spot the rest of the disguised enemies. Because... oh, they've all grouped up together like this. This is annoying. It's one of these two. Dang it, that's another one I've gotten wrong. That's the one. This can take... the RNG in this stage comes from like where all the civilians are standing, because if they clump together like this, it's really easy to get the one you're thinking about wrong. And doing so, when you're trying to avoid shooting them, it can be difficult to discern which one to shoot and also how to shoot to make sure you don't actually nip on the gut other people by mistake. Okay, you're not him because you... okay. This is the last one, so I can deal with one of them being there. So when we defeat the last one, that's when the boss appears. I want to swap from the Leviathan to the Volcano, because now that we've got the Volcano too, this weapon becomes much more the weapon of choice for dealing with bosses. May not deal much damage per shot, but has a much higher rate of fire. So it's ideal for dealing the most amount of damage to bosses. It's also considering the charge time it takes to get to the maximum power shots. We didn't do the best there, but that was still pretty good. Although that was apparently a gold split, so I guess I was wrong. That was the best I've done so far. Okay, so at this point, the IAG is trying to take down Tabla Siku, and they're finding he's going to a place called Pier Lento. That's also after Ekdol decides to reveal his true colors and show, oops, I'm an evil dude this whole time. And he also reveals he's also a Viper, just like Sho is. And he's planning to wipe out humanity because they're not Vipers. Okay, so new weapons are in, but that's not stuff that we want. So basically, we've been tasked to run after him and find out what's going on with Tabla Siku. Is he working with Ekdol? Is he not? So we're trying to track him to Mensa Mersa in this area to city, Pier Lento. Now this is Calando Tunnel, And this is another stage where it's basically a big gauntlet of enemies, but we are going to ignore them and run past everyone, because that's much faster. The gimmick of this stage is that you have to be careful of your fire, because you can hit, if you shoot the wall tunnels, then they take damage, and if you shoot too much, they can collapse. So you want to try and avoid doing that. But again, it's much faster if we just dash to the end. It's also this stage where I want to avoid trying to take as much damage as possible by avoiding all the enemies. Mostly because I want to save my BP for the boss, because the boss can be quite annoying to deal with if you don't have your party members, so I want to save some cures for them. Because cure is the best way of healing, because if you have it equipped, then you can just pop it at any time and heal your entire party. Because the only other way you can heal is with medkits, and if you want to use them, you have to pause, go to your menu, select the medkit, select who to use it on, and then use it. So it's a lot faster to use cure. It's also a lot quicker to swap neopsionic powers to cure as well. This is basically a big battlefield room, but we want to avoid the enemies and just keep moving on. Well, those guys can die because they're in the way, and I hate those gun people. Oh, or whatever then. So this is the boss of the area, the Aquamarine Queen? Something along those lines. Real tough to use neopsionics in here because the BP is at a premium with having little enemies over here. Ah! Tentacle grab attack is very annoying. Because when it grabs you, it stuns you. Try and dash out of the way to avoid being grabbed. Doing so, while you may not take damage when that happens, really makes it awkward to focus back on the boss. It's a soft lock-on, it's very finicky with where you're facing. That's the Aquamarine Queen done. That's a massive amount of time save. Again, it's not a strat I thought of until I made this video. Now we have Pier Lento 1 and 2. The objective is simple, defeat all enemies. And this is where we want to use protection, because the stage is full of nothing but these gun soldiers. And their hit stun for their guns is very annoying. So in heavy gun areas we want to use protection to make sure we A, avoid taking too much damage, and B, avoid getting knocked over too many times. In areas where we don't use that, we have to focus on our movement to make sure we avoid as many of the gunshots as we can. There's three big areas for this level. There's basically area outside, the edge of this courtyard, the inner courtyard, and also the outer pathway. Outside pathway. Take out the courtyard area first, because the area leads right into it, and also the outer pathway has a lot of enemies. area basically is more or less a sweep and clear objective. The objective is to defeat all enemies, so you want to run around the area and take out all the enemies that are here. Also, we get these crystal knights to deal with. Which is annoying because their melee attacks very easily knock you around. They also knock down easily and stun themselves with the volcano, so... Yeah, it seems to be the inner courtyard area cleared. Stragglers in the outer courtyard. And this is where I'm going to use protection to be able to sweep and clear this area. There's also a massive BP cost for protection, so I want to get as much BP along the way as I can so I can use it again. The volcano weapon's also really useful for this, since its splash effect really helps take out groups of stacked up enemies. That's why I'm using it for this mission and the upcoming mission. And this is the other area where I want to use protection on, thanks to the massive amounts of enemies there, plus another crystal knight. I need to heal there. Just for safety's sake. That's that level cleared. And that leads us immediately to Pier Lento 2, which is basically more of the same. Also, these locals here who are trying to protect themselves, but are having a rough time of it, so we gotta help them out. Important in this area is to making sure that you manage to fully clear both sides, because this big area is split into two halves basically, with one big central area dividing it. Now there is yes, okay, that's all of them. 15 civilians on each side, so if I go through both sides, I should get 15 people. All the people cleared. 4. Go in there, there's a dude sitting in there. We don't want to talk to him because that triggers a cutscene instead of just a text box. So we just want to continue out the other side. That Crystal Knight. The way the camera works can be very tricky to focus on enemies sometimes. We got the last enemy there, and that's not the level cleared, but now we get to the boss in this central area. These 3 Darth Maul looking dudes decide to gang up on us. We need to defeat all 3 of those to finish the level. We want to try and focus on them as much as we can because the other dudes will keep on spawning. But these guys are the main target, and once we defeat them, the stage will be over. And that's that done. Now, the next stage is the Walrus Observatory, where we finally find Tabula Seeker, but he's not talking to us, so we just need to tail in to find out what the hell he's doing. So, swap near psionics. Begin tailing mission. He'll leave a trail of money for us to follow him. But he'll also leave behind mines, so we've got to be careful not to step on them. Also got to be careful not to fall too far behind, because otherwise the money trail will disappear. And he will lose him. We also don't want to get too close to him, because if he sees us, he'll shock us and it'll really hurt. I'm going to quickly jump around the corner if that happens. Also a bit random of the path he'll take. I'm pretty sure we've just looped around this bit like 3 times now. Basically, we have to just keep trailing him until he decides to go somewhere else. Ah, there we go. In this stage, you'll finally start heading towards the exit. You'll also really speed up and try to get away from you. Also, enemies will appear, so it would be really hard to catch up if you like just on the radar. So basically what happens there is Tabula Seeker picks up an item called the Lyre, which is like, I don't know, a big super waveform. I can't remember, it's been a while since I read the story. And then Ekdal appears and kills him and takes the Lyre. And now that he has the Lyre, he can command all the aliens to start attacking en masse. But the main reason is so he can go to a planet called Crimson and create a unique sound wave that will kill everyone in the entire system that isn't a Viper. So in the midst of all that, Ekdal's forces damage and cripple the IAG, and they end up refusing to try and go after him. So Sho and all the members of G Squad decide, screw it, we're going to go after him on our own terms. And we leave the IAG. So because of that, we now take our own shuttle, the Presto, to try and follow after Ekdal. However, unfortunately, we find out that it's got a case of mutons aboard. So we have to quickly scour the ship while Yanquin's driving and kill all the mutons on board before they forcibly scuttle the whole thing. It's annoying because the ship is divided up into 3 sections, top, middle, and bottom. And the ghost enemies are on board. They can freely go up and... They don't do it often, but they are completely able of freely traveling up and down floors whenever they want. Which, since we can only go up the stairs to go through floors, it makes it quite difficult to keep a beat on them. Especially since these guys can also go through walls. So using the radar is really important here because it's key to locating where these guys are going to be. Also, since these are like ghost enemies, it's really hard to also see where they are. even if you're close by them on the ship, especially in close quarters like this. So, oh, this is taking longer than usual. Usually you only have to sweep the 3 floors and you can get them all, but going through the floors quite often now. Yep, they just went down the floor again. This really doesn't usually take this long. Oh, dang it, it went down the floor. Oh, this is terrible luck. You usually never do this. There you go, got it. Okay, so that took a little while. Oh, that was annoying. But now that we're on our own, we're taking out our own missions to prevent the muton attacks from being so impactful. So we're now on our own shuttle instead of in the IAG headquarters. Which means the last few weapons should be available. Like the Vulcan 3. And... oh, that's the wrong weapon. I want the Volcano 3. We also want the Magic Core. So we want to equip the Vulcan 3. Giga Blaster, the Magic Core. Now this is another wave level of sorts. There's a weapon here that the mutants are attacking, and we have to defend it from them. Thing is though, it's 2 kinds of enemy waves that are spawning in here. There's these robots here which directly attack the weapons. And they're the enemies we want to focus on, because that's the waves that the game is focused on seeing how many we destroy. Like the enemies that lived and planted at the start of the game. So I'm going to swap New Psionics to Blast Sphere. There's also these little alien dudes that will come up and claw us. They're focused on us, and they're going to try and keep us busy from the robots while they try to attack. To progress this stage as fast as we can, we need to focus on taking out as many of the robot enemies as fast as possible whenever they show up. Because whenever we take them down, that's when another wave spawns. And when they're gone through all the waves for that, that's when the boss will appear. So our objective is, for a fast time on this stage, to take out those robots as fast as possible. we want the Vulcan for this one, because this machine gun fire is very useful for taking out as many enemies. We've now got rank 3 weapons. We've gotten basically all the firepower that we need. Also, with having the Volcano 3 weapon, it's basically made the Leviathan 3 that we got at the start of the game redundant, because the charging time it takes to power up a shot is now kind of moot for the level of damage it provides. Now we've got the rate of fire that the Volcano 3 provides. So the Leviathan 3 is basically a bit of a disc 1 nuke for the bosses at the early stages of the game, but now we've got the better weapons to deal with stuff. Careful, don't get too focused on some of the larger enemies. Still got the robots to focus on, above all else. Ooh, thank you, Moran. His shot just took out that entire wave of robots in one go. And that was the last wave of the robots. Sweet. Now we get this boss here, the Medusa Flora, I believe it's called. Looks like, in my opinion, looks like something came straight out of Shin Megami Tensei. Ah, right. Similar to the spaceship repair mission, this boss can also shoot out a bunch of like exploding flowers. So if we want to avoid too much damage to these weapons, which we've still got to protect, we can take out at least a bunch of them to minimize the damage. Where did the boss go? There it is. Well, I would like to swap over to the Volcano to damage this boss. It has this boss in particular has a bit of a range issue since it's constantly moving around the battlefield, and the Vulcan here has much better range than the Volcano. So to save time from going to the menu to swap weapons, it's better to stay on the Vulcan for this. I'm walking straight into that one. Everyone's starting to get a bit hurt. I might use a cure real quick. Half of my teammates were too far away. Boss disappeared somewhere. Oh, keeps doing that. Where'd you go? Over there. As soon as I got there, it moved. This is one of the more frustrating bosses because it just keeps moving and will not sit still. There we go, I got it. The next problem we're dealing with is called the Barber Express. The mutants have hijacked a train filled with a volatile substance, some sort of special power crystal MacGuffin. So we need to get on board it and quickly hurry to the end of the train and hit the brakes before it Star Foxes into a big old base. So, barring this one corridor, we'll blast these enemies out of the way. How we're going to do that is with a bunch of the other stages we've done and run past all the enemies. And hopefully not get bodied like we just did then. Yep, we're going... The only enemies that are really here, those slug enemies, are these iron golems. And they're really easy to get around, so we're going to bypass them as much as possible if we don't keep getting bodied. Try to form a wall, but there's still gaps enough that you can do to get through them. And there is the boss room. So to beat this boss, we immediately pop protection, lock on, and begin blasting. And the boss is dead. Run forward, hit the brakes, and the train is saved. No crashing today. The next stage is probably one more of the frustrating ones in the game. The Leaker Gardens. We finally have our face-off with Ekdal. Now this is a very annoying battle, because the best way to deal damage to him, the fastest way, is to use the volcano. The difficulty with doing that, though, however, comes in two different forms. One, you cannot hard lock onto Ekdal, because he'll just quickly break off that lock on as soon as you do. So you have to rely on the soft lock on to target him. Second, there's one move that he can do that will really... In fact, actually, I'm going to swap near psionics. It will really... It's a really annoying that if he uses. I hope he doesn't. Yeah, oh wait, no he's not. Thought he was about to use it there for a second. Basically, the story of this area is that Ekdal tried to ask us to join him in his plan because we're both Vipa and he wants us to rule the galaxy together, etc, etc. And we say no because we like our friends. You know, classic shonen anime shit. So we face off with Ekdal, and that's enough for phase 2. Okay, good. So he didn't do the moves that I wanted him to, and I don't think he can do it out here. So basically, we bust out the window, and the fight continues. Safety sync, I'm going to use Cure. Just want to keep this firing on him and avoid his direct stun moves. Getting hit and flinching from his regular attacks is okay, just as long as we don't get stunned, because if he does hit us with a stun move, he can easily chain it into more stun moves and it'll waste a lot of time. We don't beat him here, but we do damage him enough to get him to back off and we run away. And this is where we finally find the plans from Ekdal. We learn that he's on the planet Crimson, which is where the original base of the scientific experiments that created the VPAR are located. And he's going to use the research facilities there to activate the Lyre to induce the galaxy kill wave with what he has. Now, leave the... Yes, the final generator we want, the Dimension Core, is here. We want to buy that and equip it. Now we get to the final way, basically the giant gauntlet level, where we have both big wave mode and also a boss rush in one. To get through all the mutants that are here, we ask the IAG for help, and they decide to send in, despite not wanting us leaving them beforehand and not really wanting to go with them, they decide to help us out anyway and send out a bunch of people here. Now, this section here is broken up into two initial sections. Wave mode, and then the boss rush. This first section is part 1 of the wave mode, where the objective is to keep defeating enemies until the boss bar at the top there is depleted, which the barrier to the next area will eventually vanish. This can go on for a while because there's a lot of enemies that we need to get through. Fortunately, we have the same enemies in this same area, so we have these little bull enemies, which the Volcano is very good at taking down. Okay, there's that section done, so we're going to move on to the next area, where the other half of the IAG people are here and helping us try to take down these monsters. Now we have to just keep waiting and take out as many of these monsters as we can until the barrier is down. Really much to say at this point, it's just a gigantic wave mode. But keep defeating more and more enemies until finally the barrier gets down. I'm gonna use Cure because my allies are hurt. barrier's gone, so we swap through into the second area. Here we want to swap a weapon for the Vulcan, because the enemies that are here are hurt. I'm going to use a medikit on Shami because I missed her with the cure. And in this area we have lots of the ant enemies. Which is why we want to use something a little bit more rapid fire instead of explosive to take out these guys quicker. Also got these guys, small guys back again. I'm going to try and avoid them if I can, because not only do they take a lot more effort to take out, but they can also block fire from the Vulcan if I shoot at them for long enough. So, we want to focus on these ant enemies to get as many kills. Oh, overheated. This part usually takes a bit longer because there's relatively little all-ons compared to the rest of the enemies like there are in previous wave modes, so getting the reliant amount of kills for all the enemies takes a bit longer. Popping another cure for the party, and I missed Charmy again. Where is she? Barrier's almost down, so I'm going to start making a little bit of progress towards over that. Barrier's down. I'm going to do the same again. So make hits on Shami. I'm gonna swap over to the Volcano, because now we got the boss rush segment. Now that we've got the Volcano, however, these bosses are going to go by a lot quicker with Volcano 3 instead of Leviathan 3. That's the first one down, the All-Ant Queen. Now we have this enemy again. few moves that he didn't do in the fight last time. Just want to keep pounding him with the volcano until he goes down. He's down, so now we rush towards the facility. And that's the Crimson Plains. One of the longest levels in the game. Now, up next is the Viper Research Center. Now, this level can be long or short, depending on how you go through it. Basically, there's a lot you can explore, and there's like a lot, like secret files and such that you can find that tells you about what the Vipers are, how they were made, the experiments they did on Sher, and everyone else who was tried to turn into Vipers. But that's not what we're here for. So Yanquan goes to that computer, says, "Ooh, hey, I'll try to find a way to open up this facility, but all the powers also might be difficult." So we go over here, we flip the power switch, get everything turned back on. We go back to this room and we pick him up. He says, "Well, I didn't really find anything, but I did find this mechanical key to a door, so if we find a place that can use that, we can go ahead." Which is this door right here. It leads us further down underground into the main area of this level, where we find, I'll just swap extra protection, the breeding center for mutons. The main area here is to destroy these pillars here, which are constantly spawning more mutons. We're going to destroy them to prevent mutons from reappearing. Gap there in the floor, but stop getting knocked over while trying to pull this up. Said, ooh, that pillar is also connected to one of those tubes on the other side, so if we can get down, we can cross. So, do so, while we're under assault from those other people shooting us, we're going to use the Vulcan because that has more range. We're going to activate protection. And we're going to just rapid fire this thing to the ground. Drops the platform, which creates a bridge. We're going to quickly swap it back to the volcano. We're going to cross the bridge, get on it. I'm going to pop another protection and use it to clear out these waves of enemies before focusing on the pillars. Before we move on, we have to defeat the last of all the mutons in this area. And there's also a secret hidden shop here. Nope. I already have the magic core. That's the one I was thinking of. Then we go through this door, and that's the Viper Research Center. Then we have the confrontation with Ekdal again. Tries again one more time to ask us to join him. We say no, and the fight begins. It's pretty much the same one as the fight in the League of Gardens, except there's a lot of screens we can blow up here to gain some more room. Let's swap near psionics back to cure. Just stay still.
These can only be gained
Still hasn't done the move I'm worried about, which is good. As long as I can just keep unloading into him, I'll be alright. I need to use a heal here just to keep myself topped up, and that's the move I didn't want to see. Okay, so when he does that, he will instantly split himself into lots of different clones and all begin firing at you. Objective is to find the real one and shoot him down, but as far as I can tell, there's never a tell for what the real one is. It's always a bit of a crapshoot. So it's almost impossible to knock the real one down with the volcano, so you have to swap down to the Vulcan to shoot him down. The problem is he can decide to keep repeatedly doing that clone move over and over and over again, which means you can keep constantly swapping weapons back and forth, and that can waste a lot of time in the menu. Looks like he seems content to only do it once. That was a pretty good fight. Very lucky I only did that once over the 2 fights I had with him. That leads on to the final fight. Now that we defeated Ekdal, we grab the lyre from him, and we use it to blow up the facility to make sure to stop his galaxy destroying wave. But then he transforms into this monster. The final boss is this powered up dragon Ekdal. And we have to beat him. Well, I say this is kind of a bit easier than the previous Ekdal fights because it's a bit easier to keep track, to learn his attack patterns and move around. Some are still difficult to avoid, but he can still do a lot of damage if you're not careful. Just want to keep a lock on off him. Where did he go? Also, in a story bit, sure, using the lyre to disable Ekdal's weapon is also apparently going... It's like a suicide mission because without the lyre, as a Viper, sure is not apparently won't survive that much longer without it. So this is the last thing we can do in the story sense. Oh, that's bad. He's really beating me up here. It's really moving. And we've almost got him. Time's almost up. That's the boss, and the time comes as soon as I get past this stats screen. Which means time is... now. And that is Crimson Sea.
I've finally become a real.
Also a technical world record / personal best, since I'm the only person who is running this game.
We were going to discover
So
the
this will
far
be
end
going
of
up on YouTube as well, so it's a part submission, part record.
the far end.
And I hope everyone who sees it enjoys it, and I hope everyone at ASM can hope to let me add this game to the next marathon. I would very much like to show it off, and hopefully I can find even more ways to reduce the amount of time in each level. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'd hope to see you soon as well, and show you more runs. Thank you very much.